Welcome to Dialog Choices podcast again.
What do you mean again?
You keep listening, so we keep showing
coming
up.
back unless it's the first one. Who knows? Maybe this is just one that has such an incredible thumbnail and title that they just got drawn in to finally watch one for the first time. In which case, I'm sorry for lying to you about yourself.
Did we really finally come up with the best podcast ever, and it just has hundreds of thousands of views all of a sudden?
This is a thing where we hang out for like 2 or 3 hours, but then like the morning after, I throw together a title and thumbnail in like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I don't remember what we talked about. Fucking here we go. It's often like one thing. It's often like one thing we talked about 2.5 hours in. So the people who click on it for the thumbnail are like really frustrated. It's like these aren't single topic podcasts. I can't make a comprehensive thumbnail. The moment in fact, I've made the mistake of trying to have multi-subject thumbnails before, and that just makes them much worse. And no one clicks on them. You can actually see the less clear and more muddled the thumbnail is, just hundreds of views lost. Like, it's so much worse than other episodes if there's not something catchy enough. The real trick is just to talk about Elden Ring for half an hour, and then Elden Ring's in the title and thumbnail, and then everyone clicks on the podcast because we mentioned Elden Ring. Like, that's that absolute. There's a very clear correlation in the last like 10 episodes where all the ones that mention Elden Ring have like 500 more views.
Well, do you want to talk about Elden Ring?
So you think
how is it still popular?
I mean, not much has happened this year.
Stray is out. Don't talk about anything but the cat game. What are you talking? What are you doing with your life?
I don't know anything about the cat game. In fact, the cat game has reached a level of popularity where, as a contrarian, I'm immediately like, no, I'll play something else.
Wow.
We'll see if maybe Patreon will vote for that one. We'll see. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm gonna go play Citizen Sleeper. It's a dice rolling game about capitalism. Fuck you.
Oh, that sounds pretty good though.
Citizen Sleeper actually is really cool. I'm very much considering playing that instead of Stray.
Yeah, but all cats are anti-capitalist, and it's just built into their DNA.
What I'm not looking forward to is that Ad Astra's ending, so I gotta go back to fucking Witness. It's like the randomizer is hard.
No offense to any cats out there, but I do think that cats more than any other, if any cats listening, cats more than any other house animal personify capitalists.
How? In what way?
To the point where we say the big cats on the top.
Fat cat.
The fat cats. Yeah, we got all sorts of allegories for
fat cats at the top of the capitalist food chain with the highest ivory towers, asshole spoon.
Because they don't work. Cats don't work. They just, slip around all day and then have fun for brief moments of consciousness that they have. And they just, they'll demand everything from you and give no damns about whether you want them to demand or not. And they just expect it, and that's it. Whereas dogs are different. It's more of a reciprocal relationship. And cats are like, the reciprocalness of cats is like, yeah, sure, you work for me all your entire life. I'm going to give you 0.01% of the profits, and you're going to be able to retire.
Profits?
Yeah, sorry, I mixed up my allegories. But you know what I mean. Like, capitalism in cats is all I'm saying.
Maybe you shouldn't be commodifying your cat.
Yeah, no, my cat commodifies me.
Uno reverse card.
My cat commodifies me.
I think your cat's a member of the proletariat, and you're the problem.
I don't know. Actually, my cat is really nice.
Checkmate.
He's badly behaved, but he's mean. He scratches my feet when he wants food. He doesn't even request. It doesn't like meow or anything. It just comes up to me. And if I don't look at him and give him food, he'll scratch my feet. That's what he does. Then I know he wants food. See, it's what I'm telling you. It's like double standards.
I don't know how that sounds capitalist.
You keep ending the sentences with random terms and then having to retract them. Like, hang on, what was I saying?
Yeah. If you agree with me, you agree with me is all I'm saying. Right?
Wow. What? If you're just going to go with totalitarianism. There we go. We have a question
Maybe.
from Preed. Say you had a friend who isn't into gaming and you wanted to introduce them into different genres of gaming. What games would you all recommend as introductions to different genres? Like first-person shooter, platformer, RPG, action, comma, adventure, beat 'em up, fighting, puzzle, etc. First question, before we even answer this question, have any of us actually successfully done this?
Got a non-gamer,
A
to play
non-gamer
games?
to get into games via introducing
Good
them
question.
to something, because that's an important data point, because that's the difference between actually knowing what works and just randomly guessing in a semi-patronizing way of like, what are simple baby games for idiots?
Yes.
Because I got into video games via Ninja Gaiden on the Nintendo Entertainment System, so like,
Wow.
I know. So I'm just like, I have like, my first instinct is to think of something simple and unchallenging and a little patronizing and whatnot. But then I remember how I got into video games. It's like I didn't get into video games via like like what everyone's like, oh, show Roger Ebert Journey and stuff like that. I'm like, I got into video games via fucking Ninja Gaiden. So like, I don't know if the dumb baby thing is necessarily the answer, but also that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like,
yeah, I think I agree with you. I think like even for myself, I started out with things like Diablo 2 and Fallout 2 and stuff. So,
I think my idea might be try to find media they already like and then try to find a game that specifically taps into that idea.
Yep.
And sometimes it could literally be the same IP, but oftentimes that's a terrible video game. But maybe it's not a terrible video game, in which case you can have a thing that has iconography that they're interested into, and then like that like makes them more interested in being like, oh, I want to know how to play the Alien game because I really love the movie Alien, and look, the xenomorph, I can look at the xenomorph and all this detail and stuff. Like that's like a different experience than like being like, okay, so I got this game called Journey. It's full of stuff that means nothing to you, and you should play it because it's a baby game where you just joystick and press A sometimes. Or my other instinct was like, introduce people to shooters via Doom because you don't have to look up and down, so there's fewer controls, or maybe maybe Portal because there's no like time limits for most of the game and it's not that hard. Because holy shit, first of all, do not try to introduce somebody to video games via anything that has left and right stick. That like one is move and
really?
one is like looking around in first person. That is some next level complexity to try to give someone to think about. Like, I don't know, let them try out like Super Mario 3D World, the Mario that's 3D but the camera isn't in your control. So you just run around. So you're running around and jumping, and you don't have to like. Cameras are really hard when you're new at video games.
Yeah, dual stick is something you need to progressively learn, just like you did in real life.
Same goes
like
for
you're
keyboard
not
and
remembering.
mouse.
Yeah, like it's hard to remember what your initial reaction to using dual stick shooting was like, or dual stick anything, like because it is something that is so natural to you now. Like almost every game that you probably play does use dual sticks. Or at the very least, you're used to like using a mouse to control a camera and moving with WASD. But
yeah,
like what I do remember playing like Halo for the first time and being very upset about it. Just being like, this is not working for me. I cannot get my two thumbs to stop being dumb together. And I played a shit ton of Perfect Dark. But like having two joysticks was really weird to get used to. And then once you do though, once it like clicks, it's just like anything.
And that's how I permanently ended up with look inversion in my brain, because I learned how to dual stick via Halo.
And I, like a true person of intelligence, did turn that off immediately and went to regular ups and downs, because inversion is what planes do, and I is not plane, so is not do, I will not. So that is why I don't use inversion. Don't use inversion.
I like it.
Wait, it comes by default with inversion on?
I think Halo 1 either defaulted to look inversion or it switched to look inversion when you got on a Banshee, and I made them match or something so that it wouldn't change when I got in a vehicle.
That would be a nightmare.
Because that was weird.
I still can't control a Banshee in Halo Infinite on a computer. So,
Really?
I have not.
Yeah,
I have never.
I don't understand.
It's really hard to learn, specifically because the way you learn how to use vehicles in Halo games, to a large extent, is you play the campaigns, where you have time to
Yeah.
actually hang out in one, as opposed to like a multiplayer shooter where like every time you're in Halo, within 2 seconds of spawning, you might be in a fight already. So like, I don't know the controls to the Banshee on a keyboard and mouse at all, and I just don't get one. I'm just like, I'll just let Effie get it. He wants it anyway.
Take it. I can't use it anyway. The
True.
I taught so I basically did the exact same thing you're talking about for getting someone to play games who's never played games before, is to take something that they are both familiar with and generally positively feeling about, and find something that is uh similar enough, or if you can find it exactly right. And so like a good example was like I had got two people to do this, both my family members. And so the first one was pretty easy because it was my mom loved playing uh Miss Pac-Man or Centipede on arcade machines. So if she was like at an arcade, then she would play one of those games. But she never played console games. Um and so the solution there was to just have her go and buy me the joystick for the Super Nintendo. And in turn, she could then play Miss Pac-Man and Centipede using a joystick on the Super Nintendo. And from there, then she would try out other games that didn't use a joystick. But it was like that initial reaction of being like, "Oh, okay, I can just do the thing I like here." And then from there you say like, "Okay, well this is fun, but like can you do other stuff with like like what other things can you do with a joystick? What other games can you play even without a joystick?" Like you suddenly start getting more interested if you want to. But like there is no like, there's no one trick that's going to get people to play video games if they don't already do it. All you can do is give them something that makes it feel comfortable to play for them so they enjoy the experience, and then hopefully that they'll want more. That's just kind of how anything works really. um and like my second person was my grandmother, getting her to play mobile games. And because she really likes going to like casinos, and so the solution is like, okay, well how about you do that on an iPad, because then you don't have to spend real
Oh.
money, and then you can just use, you can just get the weird Skinner box feeling but on an iPad now. um and then that turns into her playing like a bunch of puzzle games on there because she likes the she likes a lot of those kind of games, not like I Spy, but
That's how I
kind of
turned my grandmother into a whale.
now she's a big gamer. Yeah, no, she just likes puzzle games on mobile. She likes mobile puzzle games, and that's fine. That's a huge list of games. There are a lot of games you could play on mobile that are puzzle related. Um, so, and she does stuff from like The Room all the way to Candy Crush.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say there's The Room, there's House of Da Vinci, there's
yeah,
500 hidden object games.
yeah, she loves all of that stuff. So and I was like, here you go. Here's a literally unlimited amount of things to do. Like you're a retired person. Enjoy. You have unlimited time, basically. Um, so, but obviously it's not like she's going and buying an Xbox. So it's not going to branch out into. She's not a gamer in the sense of like what Reddit calls a gamer. She is what people who read the definition of gamer would call a gamer. She's just
So
somebody who
she's a
plays
gamer.
games now. She plays games. And okay, so now she did not used to do that. She used to be an old lady who crocheted and did old lady things like cooking, crocheting,
But you
cleaning and
corrupted
stuff.
her.
And then and then I said, you know what? Why would you do any of that when you can replace half of that shit with robots and then just play video games all day? Like, come on, get with the times that I do. I just let robots do everything for
Now
me.
my
It's
grandma has
easier.
gamer opinions.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want. I needed
Just
my
the
grandma to have
worst
more
case
gamer
scenario.
moments. But yeah, I don't know. It's I think that's the best way. I think taking something that they're familiar with, something that they are comfortable and positive about, and then saying like, "Here's the digital version, enjoy." That's probably your best
Yeah.
bet.
But there's no just like reprogramming somebody to suddenly have a completely different hobby. Like if they're you're frustrated with their personality or their interests or whatever, that's probably not going to change. You have to like
think that-
want to play games. But like as an example of how comically hard it is to use right stick or keyboard or mouse and stuff, like there's just I think I've seen multiple videos where somebody introduces their spouse to shooters by showing them Portal, and they can't get out of the first room because like the first room requires you to turn around. That's like if you don't if without enough prompting, they will just like WASD and like just strafe around in that weird windowed box in the beginning of the game, and they won't like turn around to find their way out because the idea of using the mouse to turn is completely bizarre.
Yeah, that would be the biggest puzzle. If you've never seen a first person shooter, it's like, wait, you can do that?
Like I think of
Basically.
like as a kid, I told my friend's mom to put her mouse on the screen. Or not on the screen, but I said to put her mouse on the thing that that to click on it, and then she did physically put her mouse on the screen. Like she picked it up and pressed it against it. Like that's how you like click on something. And I just
Yeah, I don't
was not ready for that reaction.
I
did not
don't think you're
anticipate
gonna
that.
succeed.
You had a moment. You every now and then you have a moment where you just have to recalibrate, just your entire understanding of where everyone's knowledge is at and where you got to go and so on.
Now that's a true gamer moment. When you think outside of the box and it doesn't work, you're like, damn, never playing this game again.
She was ready to like for her all those like puzzle games that have a crazy meta like aha epiphany moment, those would have been like just a normal day for her. Like that's just how she like she doesn't have all these baked in expression ideas of what even is possible, so she would just go straight to that.
Yeah. I think
An unstoppable force. Sorry,
I've never been able to introduce anybody to gaming. I am very much of the my experience has been people leave gaming because they just don't find it appealing anymore.
No,
because of
I
me,
was like,
but just-
damn, what the fuck?
Just because they weren't real gamers anyway. Not really.
Get good, not real gamers.
Damn, not real gamers.
Real gamers
Fake
keep playing after
gamers.
the age of 18.
Yeah,
No,
real
I think-
gamers play even if they hate the game. I know
Yeah.
because I'm a real
Especially
gamer.
if they hate the game.
Especially, yes. You can't let the game win. That's the real game. What I think there's two things at odds when you're introducing anybody to gaming or when you're trying to keep people playing. On the one hand, it's how difficult it is, that like what you're referring to, things like even basic controls or the genre being very different. Because if you're like a puzzle gamer, you're not going to want to be playing like a mad 4X strategy game, and vice versa maybe. Well, actually, vice versa probably would work a little bit better, but
don't
it's
know
still
me.
like jumping genres is a problem. So genre affiliation is a thing that you have to concern yourself with, no matter if you're starting or if you're a gamer already. But on the other hand, like what kind of person are we talking about here? Because if it's somebody that doesn't have enough time in their life already for the things that they're doing, gaming is going to have to compete with those other things. Gaming is going to have to steal time away from the rest of the stuff that the person are already going to
Like a whole new
doing.
skill they have to get invested in.
Yeah. So you basically need to hook them. And for that, I think it's always a good bet to go with popular games, with games that like the Switch has the that one with Zelda. What's the Breath of the Wild one? Yeah, that's the one. And that's what I would that's what I would call, having never played it or having also not owning a Switch myself, that's the type of game that I would be like, okay, this person has never played the game. Give them a Switch with the Legend of Zelda on it, and see how they like it, because those games are designed in a way that they're easily accessible, but also they're very well received. So there's got to be something to them. They got to be at least a little bit addictive, and obviously, it being an open world game, it's that accessibility is right there. Like if you don't want that bit, go explore elsewhere. And if you don't want to fight, you don't need to fight. You can just run around. So I think a game like that would be probably something that I would pick.
Funnily enough, freaking Breath of the Wild quickly introduces enemies that one-shot you.
Oh. I was not aware of this. No, wait, you went in the wrong direction, Keith. You explored it wrong.
No,
I was in the beginning. That's the beginning
in...
of the game. There's just a blue guy and he one-shots you.
Yeah. I've just heard tales that apparently the way you did your Let's Play is not
later though. I went towards the desert first, which is weird. But I mean, if I'm talking about the plateau, you're physically trapped on until you finish the tutorial and unlock the four like dungeon items, and like. Even on there, you start
physically trapped on. God,
I think that's okay though.
You're basically trapped there because you don't have the. You have to use like weird exploits to get off otherwise, because you don't have the sail, so you can't survive jumping off. So you're just stuck on a plateau. I played the game like it's a video game, like as intended.
I remember
that's not how gamers play games.
I don't know how to do the weird shield jump into space.
Oh, that one. I've seen it done. I don't know. I have no idea.
I was showing a friend of mine. He was like recently getting into playing Breath of the Wild. And he's like, "This is really fun." I was like, "You want to see what's really fun?" I just do the shield jump. And he's like, "What the fuck?" Because your character's just so ridiculous. You're just like, wait, hold on, and go, and you just like fly away. It's like, oh.
But I think it's okay for games to be difficult at the beginning. It's okay for people to be stuck with basic controls. I was stuck with basic controls about a lot of games. Some of my favorite games I was stuck, like Tomb Raider 1, for example. I didn't know how to climb up. I didn't know how to climb up a ledge.
My early gaming experiences were me not figuring out games.
Yeah,
I had the demo for Tomb Raider, and I never left the weird intro cave with the tiger. I
was there for a little bit as well.
What?
I never figured out how to leave that room. I don't know what else that demo was. I just didn't see it or something. And then I just like did I think the other option of the demo was to teleport to like her house and do her like obstacle course. So I did that for a while. But like I never figured out how to get out of like the opening cave with the tiger. Like I don't know how to leave. Similarly, I think I had the Ico demo, and I never like I just ran around and hit walls with a stick and was like, wow, when he hits the walls with a stick, he bounces off. This game's so realistic. It's intense. Games will never get more realistic than this. I never met like an enemy or started the plot. I just wandered around in the opening area where nothing happens, and then for a while, and then I turned it off. Like that's how far I got in the Ico demo as a kid.
I think my body was, or I think my like entire being was made for gaming. I think my oldest memory was playing on a Sega Master System, and I was playing Alec the Kid, and I was really bad at it just because I had no coordination to jump, but I knew what I was doing. I like knew to keep, I knew to keep going left or to keep going right. I knew that you needed to jump over enemies, but I just like couldn't time it right. I was just really bad at the timing. But I never struggled with that. I remember the second one was like a puzzle game. It was like some weird ice penguin puzzle game. And I remember no one could tell me how to play it. Game? Yeah, I don't remember what the hell it was called. I don't know. I don't know what the hell it was called. Penguin Land, apparently. That was the name of it. Its official name in Japan is Doki Doki Penguin Land, but in the US we don't believe in Doki Doki, so we just called it Penguin Land.
What is this?
So yeah, Penguin Land is.
It'd be weird to call it like Heartthrob or Heartbeat Penguin Land. Like that's a confusing title.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's how it is in Japan, though. Like it's not like putting Doki Doki.
It doesn't have similar connotations.
I guess.
No, no, it's just that Western
It's like how if
audiences
you
are more
translate
susceptible.
Jaskier's name accurately in the Witcher adaptations, his name would be Buttercup instead of Dandelion.
Do it.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
think that's a
see,
problem with
don't-
English though.
And Buttercup has
Buttercup,
baggage,
yeah.
the name.
Nah, you just have don't let languages win. You can't let the language win. You got to go with your heart. You got to go with how you feel.
I mean, they couldn't
And if
even
you
let
wanna
they wouldn't even
call-
let him be named. They wouldn't even let him be named fucking Dandelion in the Netflix show. They just named him Jaskier.
That's what I'm saying. Is like that's because people let languages win. You can't do that. You just got to show up and say, no, actually, that's not what that means anymore. This is what it means. And you just
Andrew,
got
you're
to take it away.
You just use the translator notes. Like, video and games can't have translator notes. People don't even want to know what a translator is. Okay, it's like
Jaskier means
cat
plan.
owners.
Either
Yeah,
way,
it's-
Penguin Land, pretty hard. But I did it pretty okay as a kid. I got at
We're all very
least to
proud of
level
you.
3, which is
Out of
impressive
10.
because I was like 4 years old and completely stupid. I would still put dirt in my mouth, but I could beat Penguin Land. So clearly, I was made for gaming.
Yeah, based on
But
my
I
experience
remember-
of playing games as a dumb baby, one of the things you gotta do is like, you probably have to just be incredibly patient with the person and also not show any frustration or like laughter or anything at like how incredibly obtuse they're probably going to be about certain things and have massive misunderstandings. It's probably
And let them,
frustrating to have
like-
somebody just like watching you over your shoulder as you try to play a game and like
Yeah.
correcting you too quickly or like getting very clearly like getting the let's play or comment section feeling of like them like just wanting to police your actions and fix your misconceptions and get you to do it right in a way where you don't learn it yourself or figure it out yourself, but also you're like you feel like this thing you're learning that's complicated and frustrating is also a thing you have to like perform for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Like,
some of the early victories that gamers have, or at least I see gamers have, and I remember having as well, is precisely getting through those first few blockades that you didn't even know you had. Things like, oh wait, you can save the game, and you don't need to play this tremendously big game all in one sitting and leave your computer on or something silly like that. And just having somebody give you all the answers as you're starting out is just it feels it makes it robs the person of those victories, because those victories, even though they're silly and you know it's just that it's not the game is not even for that, and those are side effects of the game not being made for brand new players. But if those victories are still satisfying and they train you as a gamer, they train you to look for more of those victories. And like obviously, the more
part
you
of the
play,
part of the process of learning how to play a game is learning how to learn how to play games.
Yeah,
which is a thing you will have to do forever every time you play a game. You always have to learn something in the process. Ad infinitum.
Never learn.
But also, like, I'm somebody who is like, aside from my influencer status of like, because people are weirdly more collectively likely to listen to some person they don't know via a video or whatever, but like in person, I have like a 0% success rate of getting anyone to watch or play anything that I like and want to recommend that are in hobbies they already engage with. So the idea of getting someone to try an entire hobby for you is like, I don't even know how the fuck that happens. Like, I can't get someone to watch a show I like or like try a game.
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
yeah.
Like it's I've watched children play games, and it is similar in the sense where you're watching a kid and you do have to, you can't be overly cruel to them while they're being bad at a game.
Overly cruel.
What?
Yeah,
What do I
like
phrase it?
Just
you
moderately.
can't- you just it's fine to laugh at somebody who's not doing good. That's completely reasonable. Like if you see
You're not
someone
gonna
like failing a
incentivize
jump,
them
you could
from-
you could be like,
how to
dang,
get-
come on, it's just an A button. What's wrong?
How to
with
Get
you?
Throat
Get it
Punched by Your
together."
Spouse by Andrew Wilson.
Exactly. But if but obviously you don't want to you don't want to like you don't want to you don't want to get to the point where you feel like you don't want to be frustrated about it. Like there's no reason to be frustrated about
Yeah.
someone doing badly in a game. It doesn't matter because it's not there's not like a I don't know, there's not like a police officer that's going to like take you out if your child isn't like beating Mario in in a set time limit. Like that's not how this works. So it's fine if your kid's sitting there and like can't even get past the first one or whoever can't get past like the first level of Mario. Fine, whatever. It's just enjoy. Just enjoy how fun it is to watch a human playing a game as badly as a robot who doesn't even have eyes is playing a video game. Like it is an enjoyable experience that you don't get very often because most people you run into can probably beat the first level of Mario. So like
I couldn't.
enjoy it. Enjoy it while you have that chance. It's a very rare opportunity. Like, have you ever seen those videos of the AI learning how to play Mario? And it's just
No.
like it
All of
is
them
so
jumping
fun
off
to
cliffs
watch
all
it.
the time.
Yeah, it all it's doing is literally going like, that's a thing. What if I run into it? Okay, that didn't do very well. Okay, but what if I run into it faster? Nope, that didn't do it. What if I run into it and jump right before it? Okay. There's another enemy. Let's run directly into it. It's like it's just watching a computer slowly like ram its head against the wall hundreds of times just so it can finally like I did it. I beat one level of Mario and like me as a kid going, "Wow, you suck." Like it's just it's great. It's so much fun. And it's crazy to watch it. Like then you watch it without any of the failures and you're like, "Damn, this is a very tight run of Mario. Like this person knows exactly when to jump, exactly when to do stuff. Like it's really clean."
Which of these
Um
squares contain crosswalks?
exactly. So, no, it I don't know. I look at gaming like you would at like a board game. It's there, you show someone how to do it and they play it and if they walk away going like that was cool, cool. Now you have someone new to play games with. If they don't, then you just go, "Oh
No.
well, we tried at least." Like it's
Friendship over, bye.
it is yeah, exactly. Just unfriend them on Facebook, cut them out of your life. And if anybody asks, just tell them they couldn't beat the first level of Mario and they'll understand. Everyone will
Yeah.
cut them out of their lives too. Like just complete social isolation.
The first time I played Mario was in a school computer at the age of
In a school
think-
computer, whoa.
yeah, I think I was like a 9-year-old or something. And I couldn't beat the first level.
Damn.
I didn't understand.
Didn't realize we're
Even running.
podcasting with a scrub.
I didn't
Oh my
understand you could
God.
run.
See, now you get
Yeah.
it, Keith. Don't be overly cruel. That's exactly the kind of attitude you gotta have.
Just the right amount.
Yeah,
I
you
don't-
can
I
call
don't
a kid a scrub.
overly
It's
cruel.
fine.
But that's the thing, though. It's like people regularly don't beat video games. Like that's not what video games are for.
What the
Video games are meant.
fuck? Sorry. I
What?
It's just-
What? Just
So I'm playing Monster Hunter Rise. And I think this person's cat is Sonic the Hedgehog. Like not just like blue, but like there must have been a Sonic the Hedgehog event because he's like spin dashing and stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is creeping me out. I don't like seeing Sonic in Monster Hunter. It's really unnerving. It looks like the
I
movie
can
Sonic. It's distressing. But I wasn't ready for this at all. I have to Google this when I'm
which
not
movie
fighting a
Sonic?
monster. The new one, the current one.
Oh dang.
the
It's
original
not,
one
it's
is
not
the
Ugly
real one.
Sonic.
That'd be
Didn't they-
so good.
Didn't they remake Ugly Sonic in Chippendales movie?
I don't know.
What?
I think there's a new Chippendales movie and they have Ugly Sonic in it.
Yeah.
There's, like, a
Ugly
bunch of
Sonic
fan
is in
art
the
of it.
Chip and Dale thing. Let's see.
That's still a
What I
weird
was saying
name
is
for a
that-
children's show because of what Chippendale dancers are.
Oh God.
Ever
Yeah,
thought
there
about
was
that?
a you can by the way, you can also dress up your dog to look like Tails. Um
Look
I
like
don't know.
tails. Ah, shit.
yeah. Yeah, so in Monster Hunter Rise, your cat can look like Sonic and your dog can look like Tails. Um and you can dress like Sonic too if you wanted to. I don't know if the armor's any good, but yeah. So there was a collaboration between the two franchises back in November of last year.
Stressing.
Sounds like a good time.
Making these
Yeah,
things.
it's
Corporations.
that's
Corporations are
it's
making
fine.
these things.
Yeah, you gotta collaborate. It's a intercorporate. There's a external corporate collaboration event
It's
to
not
bring in
collaboration if it's
outstanding.
just the IPs. It's synergy. Different.
It's just the IPs.
I never actually knew what the word synergy meant in
IPs
corporate
aren't
context,
people.
so
They
I just
can't
never use it.
collaborate.
Oh my god,
I'm
that's
reminded of the fact that like fucking. I think it was yesterday. I had a comment on my Monster Hunter movie review essay video thing, where somebody saw the intro where I explained the setting and so on of Monster Hunter Rise, and it shows the like Japanese painting style like loading screens. And so somebody was like, how did they, why would Capcom let one of their other IPs rip off Okami?
Oh no.
Because this person just didn't understand the point of Okami, which was that the whole point is that not only is its entire plot a series of Japanese legends being slightly retooled, and it almost has almost no original story as far as I could tell, but it's also like much more pointedly, it's a well-known style that people associate art style people associate with Japan, and that's like the whole game is done in that style on purpose, and that's the whole reason you paint with a giant paintbrush throughout the game is because of the famous like thick stroke like art style that people like.
I'm getting some serious baby boss vibes here, but
Yeah,
like,
exactly. So I was like getting some serious getting some serious boss baby vibes from this one.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I can't.
I mentioned this
just
in
can't believe
Discord.
that a Japanese company would do that.
would make
They
a
would just like
Japanese art
copy
style
Japanese
game.
art style.
Yeah, what a
Yeah.
ripoff. That's appropriation. The
Yeah. Someone's got Capcom. We got to cancel this company. They can't be appropriating their own culture like this. They can't
But
keep getting away with it.
what's funny is that the Boss Baby was the thought I had, but somebody brought up this thing I was not ready for, where they included the they showed what is it, Plato's shadow puppets tunnel, and then the guy climbs out of that tunnel, but like instead of the animal shadow puppets images, it was just a picture of Boss Baby down in the cave. And he gets out of the cave and he sees reality for the first time, and he's like getting some serious Boss Baby vibes out of this.
Jesus.
Fucking incredible. I forgot we were talking about. I got distracted by seeing Sonic the Hedgehog out of context and wasn't ready for that.
Fair.
We were talking about being rude to new gamers to get them to never be gamers again.
I was just saying that like people don't beat games on a regular basis, and that's arguably not what what games are for. Even the games that have like full-on narratives. I'm sure the narrative designers want people to see their whole narrative, but everybody else in the company doesn't really care. What they want is to appeal to as broad an audience as possible. I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating. Of course, they want people to beat their games, but they're designed to be entertaining right off the start. And you know, you could argue that a game that takes 20 hours to beat, even if it is a linear game like BioShock or something like that, can't reasonably expect a lot of people to see it. And I wonder how many people beat BioShock in comparison to, for example, beating Dark Souls or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I wonder if it's
They just
like,
never knew the twist or where it goes. They just never
I
learned.
imagine a lot of people don't beat BioShock. It's like played for a few hours and that's it.
Yeah, well, but most people don't beat most games. There's stats everywhere.
But like I'm picking BioShock because it's a linear game and it's not that long and it's narrative driven. So there's a lot of incentive behind beating it. Where in Dark Souls, it's like if you want to fight the same level over and over again, you can. And if you have fun with it, you can spend hundreds of hours just playing the first few levels and have fun. And that's only compounded with later games. It only makes it more accessible for that sort of play style.
I wonder what the
I mean
first
to say
game
is
was I
that
beat.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like for new gamers, they have a tally of how many games they beat after years of playing, and it's only a couple. I remember being a gamer for like
It might have
what was
been
it?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1989 with the Game Genie for Infinite Lives. Playing co-op with my
What?
brother. We probably beat that as a kid.
You cheater. The first game you beat was cheating?
Maybe. I
Game
mean,
Genie?
no,
Is
no
that a
one
cheat?
no one's beaten that game without that. That's a fucking arcade game that's meant to kill you.
I can't believe this.
Wait,
Yeah.
is it? Are people not? Are really not? Is it really not possible? Or
I mean, it's not.
It
General-
is. You
games,
just have to.
coin op games are not designed for you to beat them on one coin. That's a bad design for the monetary practice.
Yeah,
Typically,
fair.
a lot of them are like level 2 or 3 gets comically hard. Like I always
Yeah, I
think
think
about Sunset Riders, which like has a really fun, smooth first level, and where you play as the 4 cowboys, and you get to that one saloon shootout and everything, and it's all a fun time. Then you get to the next one where you have to like run on top of a fucking stampede and then go through like there's like a train and there's like 50 projectiles coming at you from every direction and it's just noise and it's like welcome to the quarter muncher episode level. We got through the part where we hook you with the idea that this game's fun. Now it's time to take all of your money. It's a really deliberate, very obvious, massive difficulty spike immediately.
Yeah, I
Kinda
want to
like-
say I
Kind
think
of like
if
the
I remember,
Battletoads cruiser level.
if I remember correctly, I think the Simpsons arcade machine was one of the few arcade machines I can get almost to the end of the game without needing to pay more than once.
Yeah.
But
I've been able to
but,
single
like,
credit Time
yeah.
Crisis 2, and I think that's my only arcade game.
damn, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good one.
I played on the
I-
Sega Saturn. There was a CD that came with Konami's Fantastic Journey and Parodias, and I single credited both those games after many hours of mastering them. But that's my only claim to fame of that.
Time
They weren't
Crisis
that
2 is my
difficult.
all-time favorite arcade game. I put time
Is the
into
one?
that.
Is that the one with the helicopter where you?
What?
It's like from above. You control an air.
No,
helicopter
no,
against-
no, no.
No, Time Crisis
this
is a
is-
series that has a pedal. It's a light gun
Oh.
series that has a pedal, and so whenever you're not holding the pedal, you're hiding, and so you step on the pedal to stand up and come out of cover. So it's a light gun on rails cover shooter series. And so you press the button to come out and stick out, and then anytime where the protagonist is moving, then you press the pedal to move, and you let go of it to go back to taking cover. So it actually affects your progress through levels at times and so on. And there's like physical hazards you need to dodge at times, but also taking cover is how you reload. It's a relatively straightforward, neat control scheme and all that. It's a very fun campaign to play through, and it's also the first game was single player, I think, but the second game is 2-player co-op. Player 2 is named, player 1 is named Keith, but I always play player 2 because he was blue, and you can see the other player in the game because the two perspectives actually take different routes through the campaign. Like you never get full on split off from each other the way that you do in like Gears of War or whatever. Like, generally speaking, the game has to be playable in single-player mode from either perspective, so you can always see every enemy, basically. But you'll often be, like, facing the same room from opposite directions and have different perspectives, and you can see the other player where they are, like, ducking in and out of cover and so on. It's, like, a neat, like, co-op cover shooter on rails thing that's just, like, a... kind of still, like, a singular and unique series. Like, I don't know if it's ever been done outside of that specific series, so it has like its own unique identity in a cool way that I think has been maintained. Time Crisis 3 is fine, but Time Crisis 2 is like perfect.
Did you go back to play it to confirm that it was perfect?
I played it over the course of like 15 years.
then I
I
think
haven't
yes.
played it in like the last 8 years probably though, because I haven't been in an arcade.
I was
But
I
it's a
was
good
one. I
find.
went once to an arcade. I didn't do very well. I played a Moto GP kind of game on those big motorbikes that were big for me. Or I mean, they weren't big for me. They looked big, but because I was a kid. And I don't remember what game it was. I think it was like Angon or something like that. And I played Streets of Rage, and then I got my. I understood why I couldn't go to arcades because I lost. Just
I mean,
yeah.
I spent enough time in arcades to get up to playing DDR on heavy.
Oh my god.
Dance,
spend
dance,
enough money,
revolution,
you
dynamite
mean.
rave. I mean, it's not like I'm paying to win. You're just paying to play a lot for a long time.
I know, but you need to practice, and you need to pay.
That is the idea. Yep. That's like the business model of rhythm arcade games, is that you're building a skill in order to play like Drum Mania or whatever the various like games are, which means a lot of investment.
Yep.
They make a lot of money off of you while you get good at the skill that they made up. but they're very fun games. That's like my favorite. That's my favorite thing to do in an arcade is play rhythm games.
There was an entire floor in in one of the arcade places I went to in Japan where like there's one whole floor dedicated to rhythm games, and it was it was so nightmarish where you're like, oh my god, what is that? What do you
Would you like some noise pollution?
It was very loud.
There are weird ones in Japan, like the one that's a grid of squares that you press, and the one that's a weird. There's a weird like disc, like you're inside of a circular thing, and you're pressing like up and down and left and right with your hands and stuff. And I'm like, what is? I don't understand. I'm really confused.
There was one. Wow, what was it? I was playing one with me and Joe were playing one, and the idea was that you had to spin like spin this knob in time with the music to do weird stunts based on the music. It was so confusing but easy to play. Like, I couldn't explain to you how to do it, but if you played it, you'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. It's just like,
does it?
And yeah, it does. And there's just so many that are like that. There's just so many rhythm games in Japan that are just exactly like that, where you're like, this is very confusing to look at. And then you start playing it, you're like, oh, okay, I think I could play this a couple of times. And you look to your left and there's like a guy who's just, I don't know, fucking doing after images like it's Dragon Ball Z, and he's moving so fast, and you're like, what are you doing? What is happening?
He's playing bag on heavy.
Right? It's like, I've been here all my life. And I'm like, I've been here for like 4 hours. Fuck. Like,
I've been here
too
for
much
25 years.
It's really
4
not.
hours.
It's really not. You could spend 4 hours in an arcade. And
I mean, I'm sure I could, but
I often did. I think I've talked about this before, but my parents would go gambling and just drop us off at the arcade of that building and just leave.
The best possible outcome.
That was our daycare. Put a lot of time in Dungeons and Dragons Chronicles of Mystara. That one Capcom game where every time anyone casts a spell, the entire game pauses and everyone gets to watch that person cast a spell. We played that actually. We played the console HD port that came out a few years ago. We did a series on Chronicles of Mystara and Tower of Doom, I think.
That one sounds familiar.
Those you play as they have like pre-made characters like D&D to be like play as the human cleric or the half elf archer or whatever, and then you just play a side-scrolling beat 'em up like of the kind where you can go up and down a little bit, but you mostly side-scroll and you just beat the shit out of people. But in that one, you have spells and like, so everyone just does like very hype Final Fantasy X style spells. But whenever you do one, the entire game freezes and it just shows you casting the spell and then the effect happening on the screen. So like it's like there's a hypeness to it, but also like a fucking like a backlogging of events sometimes where you're just like, Jesus Christ, can we get on with this? Everyone's taking their turn.
Sometimes you're just like, come on. And someone's like, oh, I just got my magic spell. No.
Yeah.
Just like, I just want to play. Stop doing this.
Or the
Play as a barbarian.
The House of the Dead 2 and 3 were always great, and what is it? The Alien versus Predator arcade game, featuring not Sigourney, like an incredibly anime, not even slightly resembling Sigourney Weaver, and Ripley, and then a kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, you could at least tell one of them was kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though I think he might have had a mech arm or something. But the anime lady doesn't even slightly resemble Ripley. It's so far off. And then, of course, Die Hard Arcade, which was just not a Die Hard game.
Die Hard. That one was good.
It wasn't about Die Hard.
It's called Dynamite Cop if you play it in a different localization. But that game was fucking rad.
It was pretty good. Yeah,
it was.
It was shorter than it should be, unfortunately.
I really miss arcades. I think it's really sad that
the Cowboy of Moo Mesa arcade game.
Oh my
God. I learned Die Hard Arcade on a demo disc for the Sega Saturn, and by the time I ended up getting it, I just beat it in like one afternoon, no problem.
Yep, that's arcade games.
Yeah,
like when you play Fighting Force, and you're like, this game's like 90 minutes long. Or the Bouncer.
That one.
What if Kingdom Hearts was an hour and a half long? Let's go.
It would have been better, because the plot of Kingdom Hearts is incomprehensible.
You can tell the plot of Kingdom Hearts in an hour and a half, mainly because the entire middle part of the game doesn't have any story.
Oh.
There's the intro part on the island. And then there's the part where a bunch of Disney shit happens for 30 hours, and then there's the ending where plot happens again. Like, the entire middle part with Disney shit is just like, go to a weird Disney planet, resolve that Disney planet's plot, move on to another one. And my understanding, because I haven't played past the first game, but my understanding is that's largely still true of the franchise, is that the bulk of every game is spent just wasting your time with Disney shit that has nothing to do with the story and mostly does not tie in ever. Like, that's just how they do the story of those games. It's a trip.
Wow. They're really lying when they sell it as it's Final Fantasy meets Disney.
It's Final Fantasy featuring a lot of Disney.
Yeah, it's not really a lie. It just is that way.
It doesn't not have Disney.
Yeah, I mean, it's got it. I think you're playing the appeal of playing Kingdom Hearts is that you're either really into Disney or, confusingly, you're really into Kingdom Hearts. Or, sorry, are really into Square Enix properties. Like, you really care about Final Fantasy and whatever. So most people are playing it because they want to like go and hang out with a Disney character for 30 minutes or however.
Because they just won't let it go.
Depending on how bad you are. Yeah. They can't let go of their childhood. And that's why I gotta beat people up with Winnie the Pooh. Like, it's just
Christopher Robin Smackdown.
It is. I appreciate that Kingdom Hearts, at least from the surface, is insane. Like, when you look at it, you go like, "What is this?" And that is good. I think that's fun to be like, "Why is there just Disney characters next to real people? That doesn't look okay. You shouldn't be doing that." Like, it doesn't. Like Mickey Mouse standing next to.
It's like Sonic and Selena.
Yeah, it's exactly.
And you're like, these characters don't match at all.
Yeah, where you're like, okay, I get Robotnik because, like, I guess he's human, maybe, but what are these people doing here? You gotta go. Like,
I like how Robotnik also doesn't look like a human from the universe of that game.
Yeah, it's just
only makes it more confusing when you see the other humans. You're like, what is Robotnik then?
It's just. It's weird, but yeah. So that's like those kind of things. You're like, what is this? Is such a weird decision, but I don't know. I would like to say that I don't think anybody, except for people who really feel like they have to, I don't think that anybody takes the Kingdom Hearts plot seriously. I don't
Are you
think both the
sure?
creators, I don't
I
think the
think
creators take it seriously. I don't think like the average player takes it seriously. I think the only people who take Kingdom Hearts plot serious enough to try to like snap their poor fragile necks to make it work are people who are like weirdly have to justify why they're playing this silly game. Like someone just like, it's not dumb to play Kingdom Hearts because it actually has an intriguing lore about darkness and how it's all inside of all of us, and we have to be careful or we'll succumb
the
to the
power of
darkness.
friendship.
That's a
the plot
bad
of
moral. That is
Original
bad.
story, do not steal.
That doesn't make it better that it has that moral. It makes it worse.
like the literal plot of Kingdom Hearts 1 is
it's like
don't open
Randian
doors.
logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the plot of Kingdom Hearts 1 is literally don't open doors to other universes when that you find in caves because bad people might be behind them. And like that's the entire lesson to learn.
But I
and
find it
so,
very
like,
telling that I've listened to 3 different YouTubers, I think, summarize the Kingdom Hearts franchise as like that story. And it's very telling that none of them mention any Disney characters besides Donald, Goofy, and Mickey. Everyone else in a franchise about interacting with Disney characters, they don't mention any of them when they summarize the plot because it just doesn't matter. It's just filler.
Yeah.
It's just wacky adventures that Sora goes on first in the middle.
The Disney stuff is all like to hook you in.
Like if any plot
it's
happens, it's
like-
because like fucking Riku shows up suddenly, and now the plot is happening separately from the plot of that Disney world.
Yeah, it is that you say that now that I think about that. It probably would just be better to say that Kingdom Hearts is just Naruto. The idea is that you're trying to get your really emo looking friend to come be your friend again after he doesn't want to be your friend, and then you find out that he's like doing this because there's actually an even evil out there that he's trying to take down, but he doesn't want to have his friends get hurt while he does it or whatever. And you're just like, oh okay. And then something about like apparently Keyblade Wars happen. I don't know. Look, Sora's like a 15-year-old kid. I don't think you should be drafting 15-year-olds to fight in wars or whatever, but sure, I guess. Have fun with it. It's Disney, right? Disney characters going to war all the time.
War is a very
Yeah.
prominent thing in Disney shows.
Yeah, Disney loves war. It's
I'm starting to understand why they didn't integrate it with the plot.
yeah, it is weird that they didn't want like the Lion King taking place in the middle of a war. It's so weird. I can't understand why they didn't want Mufasa just like leading troops into battle. It's a missed opportunity, honestly. Disney really needs to like loosen up and just let their IPs be used for war like they used to back in the day. Come on, guys.
There probably are legitimately like a bunch of rules about what you're allowed to do with Disney properties and so on. In
Oh
those
god,
kinds of
I
pieces of
imagine.
media,
Yeah, I
which
imagine like
they probably are so hamstrung that they actually do probably deliberately write them to not have any of the Disney stuff be important. But that just all the more reinforces the idea that's just like this marketing gimmick and completely irrelevant to the actual content of the game. Fuck, stop it. Yeah. I've been told that supposedly the next Kingdom Hearts is going to just be the plot of Final Fantasy 13 Versus that got scrapped. They're just reusing that now for Kingdom Hearts.
What? Wow.
Which is just a fascinating thing to be told.
and that goes
Maybe we'll finally
and
find out
again,
if that was
goes
ever going to
through-
be a good game, because fucking it's really weird. Like Final Fantasy 15 was so trash. But one of the weirdest things is that you can watch old Final Fantasy 13 Versus trailers, which is what became 15. And like you can see Noctis and Luna Freya interacting, and they have like actual conversations with personality and so on in these like old cutscenes that were shown of the game that never came out. And that's like a big deal considering that they're characters who essentially never interact in, you know, the game they're actually in. Despite them being the main characters and that being the plot. Like, that game just bizarrely drops the ball compared to its own like pre-release trailers of what it could have been. And not in
Was
the
it
usual way,
rushed,
not
though?
in like the Monster Hunter kind. I mean, not in the No Man's Sky kind of way where it's all a carefully curated lie about how good the gameplay is. It was literally just a trailer of plot, and then the actual plot doesn't contain that because it got retooled. But the one that they replaced it with was just a nightmare train wreck thing. I don't.
But did you think it was better, or was it because it was rushed?
13, it had a very troubled development where the leadership kept changing. And the whole thing kept changing directions. And at one point, they clearly decided to make it The Witcher 3. So, like, it very clearly, in response to the popularity of Witcher 3, just has, like, this really pointless open world that is, by and large, the most enjoyed part of the entire game. Like, people consistently enjoy the open world more than anything other part of the game. But in like practically chapter 3 or whatever, like I don't know the numbers, but like it's very quick, like relatively early in the game. If you follow the story, you leave that open world and you never come back. So for the rest of the game, at various save points, they give you like the ability to like take a nap and dream of your past, and you can like retcon more stuff as having happened in the open world. Like you can go back to that open world even though the story never will, and like add more that happened while you were there, essentially. Like that's their way of compromising the fact that like the entire game was a linear hallway, but there's a gargantuan open world suddenly at the beginning, which is a little bit like The Last of Us Part 2, but way worse handled. Because like The Last of Us Part 2 did have that one weird pseudo open world area where you can hang out and bond with the characters a bit and have some interactions and play Take On Me on your acoustic guitar and stuff. But like this was like, we're talking like, this was a pretty big world where you could like train chocobos and take on like missions where you hunt monsters and you like level up your monster hunting rank like it's fucking Monster Hunter. And like there's like a whole bizarre, like you meet all these NPCs, you live through a fucking cup noodle commercial and so on, and like all these bizarre interactions. Entire systems built around the idea of you driving around in this flying car that is whose iconography is farmed to the point where you can get that very same flying car in Final Fantasy 14 and so on in a Noctis quest, like, and like all these like extended BioWare style conversations between your party members as you're roaming. Like every time you get in that car and you drive and you commute from one objective to another on that open world, like they start chatting each other up and having these like conversations that like flesh out the characters, and like were honestly the most appealing part of the game were just the dynamic between these three characters. But the main story has none of that. And if you just play the main story, you like immediately leave this open world behind after only a few hours, and then just suffer through this hyperlinear, horribly handled story. Like it's just, the entire story of Final Fantasy 14 from the ground up is horrible, just all the way through. And the only way you come away with any good feelings is because you fixate more on that open world and the main characters interacting and being charming with each other and so on. Because the actual plot is just utterly abysmal, and it's agony to play through. Like, I remember the fucking I think it was the Tempest boss fight or whatever. Whatever, they reused the same Aeons / Eidolons / icons over and over and over and over and over again in this franchise, and they keep calling them new things, but it's the summons like Ifrit and whatnot, and Shiva and so on.
Are those bosses or companions?
They're
both
or both. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not companions, like they're not characters. But
they're
like in Final Fantasy 15, the whole point. In Final Fantasy 10, the whole point is that like Yuna is a summoner, so she summons. Over the course of the game, she learns of these various summons that are these gods she can summon in battle and so on, which are those characters, those like deities or beings. And in Final Fantasy 14, each one of them is like correlated with a particular beast tribe or culture, and like in times of bad, they tend to conjure those deities and so on.
You say times of bad, but it's basically Yeah, when people are colonizing their village and they are
Yeah.
really about to get wiped out, they summon a god, which then justifies wiping them out.
Yeah, that's the feedback loop in 14. And in 15, I actually forget why you're even dealing with each of them, but there was a series of I feel like it was like some shit about like proving Noctis's worth or like unlocking his
yeah,
princeness or something.
it was something to do with like the power that his I don't like his bloodline or something. Like whatever, something about his like him being a king required him to like slay these certain monsters to unlock the power to be the king or whatever is what his dad wanted him to do. Is like go
Yeah.
take a road trip with your bros and come back as a man.
But like
Basically.
there's some city that you wipe out by summoning this like water one that's like called Tempest or something along the lines of that. And that boss fight is so completely devoid of mechanics that you just kind of like float in the air and press attack buttons.
What?
And you just kind of like fly at him and keep hitting him. And like there's no mechanics. So there's not really like things to dodge or like a resource to manage or like any kind of like back and forth dynamic. You kind of just keep button mashing for a very long time until eventually, right when you're hitting, right when you're like, I can't even say right when, well past the point where you've hit the thing where you're questioning whether you're even doing the right thing or not, or if you're missing something about the game, he just suddenly dies and the fight ends. You're like, oh, I guess I was doing it. And like, I know multiple people that have all reported this exact same feeling where they all get to that part of the game and they're just completely baffled by what the game even wants from them in this supposed boss fight or if they're even doing it right. And I know one person who just turned it off. They just quit. They just like, nope,
Damn.
fuck this game, I'm out. And they never came back in the middle of that boss fight. And that's not even
the real winner right there.
That's not even the famous bad part of the game, because the famous bad part of the game is the infinite hallway part where the guy keeps taunting you and your party members are gone and the gameplay is like nothing and it's just really tedious and boring. And it's just
Wow.
I can't believe that game existed.
It's like the veil. It's like the veil in Dragon Age, but it sounds worse.
Yes.
Actually, I like
Sounds
the
to me
veil.
like
The
it always
veil
sounds
has
to me like this is
narrative
the problem.
purpose.
Yeah.
Does it though?
In Dragon Age, hey, of course, pretty important. I think it's kind of missing in Dragon Age 2. That it should be there to give some context to some of the stuff that happens.
Yeah, I think people don't like it when you put them in like a samey kind of tedious place to look at or whatever and do a combat gauntlet for a bit or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like the veil is very narratively important to Dragon Age as a franchise.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember because BioWare has that idea a couple of times before Dragon Age. Well, at least one time before Dragon Age, because Baldur's Gate 2 has a similar situation where for a couple of occasions the whole team is removed from you. I think Baldur's Gate 1 does the same thing, but it's a little bit different because it's just a dream. And the thing with Baldur's Gate 2 is that it adds mechanics in when your party is removed. So what you're really playing through is not really a gauntlet; it's more a tutorial for this new mechanic that you have, and then you keep that mechanic for the rest of the game. So now you know what to deal with it. But it's just removing. What's the word? What's the word for like your own power? The thing that you do. It's called agency. That's the one. Removing agency from the player is always a very, very tricky thing to do. And removing them from their party or removing their inventory, forcing them to use this particular weapon to kill the Serpent King. It's always a bad idea, I feel. So
yeah, I'm
if people don't
understandably
like it-
always very bad. Like that is a very good indication I won't like something. Is if a game does that. It's like, oh, yeah.
I particularly don't like it when games remove my armor, because then I don't remember what I had, because of course I don't. Your itemization is irrelevant.
Oh,
I hate ever having to put my gear back on and being like, oh fuck, what did I have?
Yeah. I just take a photo
that
with it.
seems
of it.
It
with
seems
my
really
phone.
rough that it wouldn't just put back on what you were wearing. That seems really unnecessary.
Sometimes games do that. It's very
Oh,
rare,
I believe
though.
it. I believe it. I've played a lot of bad games in my life. I'm just saying to not have that as a thought is
Yeah.
alarming. Like how you could possibly get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I guess people might want to keep the armor that they had on and don't remember it. Like,
Oh
Something that
no, my
happens.
I don't know.
my KOTOR ship got kidnapped.
Something that happens
Uh,
in. Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Now you gotta
KOTOR.
pull my
Oh yeah,
clothes
KOTOR
back on.
absolutely. KOTOR absolutely removes your armor and your team a couple of times.
Yep.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Or that
Something.
there's even a quest line in Elden Ring where it's like, now take off all of your clothes, and I'm like, all right,
I was thinking of that.
gonna
Didn't
have
like
to
that.
remember what my pants and what my head and what my shirt and what every
Mhm.
single item was, and I have to remember where they were in this giant fucking menu of gear. It's so much gear. Help.
And you have a half of it even because you missed a bunch.
It's the Elden Ring inventory was so much to navigate through.
Yeah.
It's so much. It doesn't need to be this much. Ah.
Mm-hmm.
says you,
No, it doesn't.
obviously. Obviously it needs to, because that's why people like the game so much.
There's something that happens over and over again in Fallout 2 where, speaking of removing agency from the player, where it becomes kind of like you can tell it's going to happen. The quests are designed in a way that, like, they're vignettes sort of thing. So you meet this character, and this character is like, okay, I have this issue and I need your help, right? And then you can accept, or you can ask questions, or you can say no. And if you accept, very often, not all the time, but like maybe 20% of the time, when you accept a quest like that, that character takes you with them to the place that the quest is going to happen, or where the next part of the quest is going to happen. And the game just fades to black and fades in that place. And I hated that. That's like the one thing I dislike about Fallout 2 the most is the fact that it just teleports you. And I don't like it because Fallout 2 is sort of an open world game where, like, you're doing other stuff. You just meet this guy and he's like, okay, I need your help. And you're not going to say no because that's a no to a quest. So you say yes, and guess what? You're not doing the stuff you were doing already before. You're off in God knows where. So you need, like, it's difficult to keep track of what you're doing because the game keeps literally teleporting you away from the quest that you were doing before. So agency is very important to respect.
Or what if we just make the entire video game a cutscene?
No cutscene. All in game. Immersive storytelling. That's the best stuff.
Yep. I love immersive storytelling where you put your hand up to your ear and walk really slowly, and it won't let you open doors for 3 minutes while the conversation plays.
Oh no! Well, you're referring to a certain game. What is it?
Several games, but like the Gears of War
yeah.
series, for example. As he'd walk
They
through
do
the
that?
environment, there was just dedicated hallways to walk through, where it's just like, here's the part where the conversation plays and there's no other gameplay, and you just press forward to feel like you're still interacting.
But that's not immersive storytelling, though. That's just a
It's
dialogue.
not good. What drives me crazy is every single game that creates a fucking commute of some sort. Like, they either make you walk down a hallway, or you're having a drive or something, and then you fucking arrive at your destination too fast and it cuts off the conversation. I'm like,
Yes.
did you not play test this? Did you not check the duration of the conversation versus how far you were making me drive? This happened in fucking, like, in Psychonauts 2. There's like weird cinematic sequences where you're supposed to basically just like hold forward or something, and like there's one where they put you in a boat in some kind of dark dream space or something, and like immediately I crossed the threshold to cut off the cutscene. I'm like, how did I know I was supposed to just sit here and wait? Like, why didn't you test this part of the game? It's so fucking weird.
I had that problem a lot. I basically, like, anytime someone was talking to me and I still had control over my character, I just didn't move. So I was like, I'm gonna skip this. I know where I need to be. I know exactly how to get there really fast, and I know the game's just gonna immediately go like, well, fine, you don't want lore. And it's like, what? Why would you just don't do this. Don't give me exposition in the middle of gameplay that can be cut off by continuing the game. Like BioShock does this just fine. You have a little audio thing and you can listen to it if you want, and then if not, you don't. And you just move on with life and it doesn't matter. But like I can literally go into a cutscene in BioShock and it'll cut off my audio log. And then when I get out of the cutscene, I just press a button and it starts playing the audio log again.
Mhm.
Okay, that works
I
out
f-
fine.
I
Like,
found something in the Witcher 2 right now that is related to this and really infuriating. It basically is you exit a cave and your character is talking to another character that you're accompanying, but I'm doing it like you, Andrew, which is they're talking, I stop because I don't know if I'm going to be attacked by monsters. I don't know if I'm going to arrive at the destination. Whatever, I'm just going to stop, let them talk, and then I do my thing. The Witcher 2 does a thing where the characters actually don't continue the conversation unless you move. So, like, they're talking, you stop. And then when the line is done, you need to move ever so slightly forward, and the next line happens. And it's just, why did you go through the lengths of programming this rubbish when harpies are attacking me and they make so much noise? If you do the thing normally, you cannot understand what. I don't remember who the character is. It's the elf in the
Yeah, it's
in the
rough
Witcher 2.
because the entire premise of having dialogue that plays while you're playing the game, like the BioShock audio logs, for example, is supposed to be that you can keep playing the game, but that only really works if they somehow know that you continuing to play the game is just going to be you looting shit in BioShock and not a fight happening. Because the moment a fight starts, it's like, well, this message is dead to me. I'm not hearing this, and I also can't think about it because shit is going down, and this is full multitasking mode now. But also, I've had the approach of standing still backfire because I've played the Stanley Parable, and there's a part where you're supposed to be experiencing some crazy stuff happening in this hallway, but I just stood there and listened to him talk for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, wow, he's going for a long time. And like, even that game kind of conditions you to the idea that like if you move, you'll interrupt his dialogue because you'll be making a choice of some kind. So you start to like intentionally stand still at times, but there's segments where you ruin the entire set piece if you stand still at the beginning of it and aren't like running through it while the voice is playing, and it's not always clear which ones are which.
That sounds to me like the time you make it, trigger the pendant, stop the dialogue in the middle. If your player's not moving, make it not say the dialogue that matters.
sounds like
Womp
a
womp.
personal problem.
Yeah.
Have you
The
tried
thing
not
that
having
baffles me,
personal?
the thing that baffles me is how game designers don't know that you immediately stop the moment your characters are talking. Like, it happens so often that you arrive at the destination before they stop.
They gotta play more video
It's
games.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to one of those like, well, when talking's happening, they're not just gonna go and keep playing, right? Kind of mentality, and that just
I'm not
isn't how that
sure.
works. Like
I'm not sure that
I
that's
don't
what.
know, it just seems weird that you would allow people to skip dialogue, knowing full well that you have not included any kind of prompt or any information letting the player know that, like, hey, just so you know, if you go through this door, you just don't get any more cutscene. You just don't get any more information about the story. Like, there's not even a prompt to say, like, hey, I hear like the game even coming up and saying to you, it looks like you're going through a door before the audio is complete. Do you want to do that? Because you won't hear the audio. Like, just any kind of
Yeah.
indication that you're about to make a mistake would
Mm-hmm.
be nice. Because, yeah, or like moving. It's like, oh, I see that you're moving. Did you know that moving is going to actually cut you off from knowing what's going on in the game? Because I bet most people would be like, oh, I'm going to stop moving. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's weird to assume a player will know exactly what to do in order to not fuck things up, because the game often just fucks up with me not doing anything for it. So why would I think that the opposite would be true? Like,
Yeah, when you're
it's
actually doing things that they wouldn't fuck it up.
yep. But video games are weird. It's just it's like movies. Sometimes movies will have in movie translations. Like sometimes they'll say like that sign says bananas, and then other times it won't. And you're like, what justifies what gets translated? Like it's
Oh
very
yeah,
weird.
what matters to the plot? Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, it's so obvious.
Yeah, like someone will walk past a store and like, I don't know what the fuck that store was. And then they'll like look at an item and it says like banana. And you're like, what? Well, why did you tell me that's a banana? Why didn't you tell me what the hell that store was? What is wrong with you? Like
Mhm.
this is the only time that context matters. Like it's weird. And, but there's no rule for it. It's not like someone's gonna be like, you did you broke the rules. It's just like, it's cheaper to do that. Now I don't have to pay some guy to write banana store on the outside of this building, and I just wait until the character picks up a banana and then just write banana. Easy.
But even when even if you do it all in CGI and without subtitles, it's still blatant that some things are translated and others not. Unless you translate the whole thing, it's always going to be. Yeah.
All I can say is I feel really bad for people that are hard of hearing, because they are
Things, yeah.
they're probably the least respected people, next to like second to blind people in this world. Like they're just like so completely fucked. I pretty much watch everything with subtitles on. And whether it's in my language or not, I watch it with subtitles on, because one, the art of audio engineering is dead. Like it's gone. I don't know where it went. I don't know what happened, but it is fucking dead, because everything I watch, it is hard as fuck to hear people half the time. Where I'm just like, what did you say? Could you like speak up? All I can hear is music. I didn't know I was listening to a concert. Please turn your fucking music down. It's not that good. Like, I'm not gonna buy your CD. Just chill out. And so I'll listen to, like, just have the subtitles so I can hear what these people are saying. And so many subtitles are just completely fucked. It is even worse if you're watching something and it's not it's a foreign film. Like Netflix is fucking abysmal about this. They put the subtitles based on the English dub. They don't put subtitles based
Oh,
on a
no.
translation of the fucking version you're watching. So like we watched a movie the other night, and there's like a part.
Oftentimes when I've seen them, it's there. You just have to check. You have to check, and there's like 2 different English options.
Yeah.
Oh.
So sometimes they do that, and sometimes they don't, which means you're stuck with whatever the English one is. And we watched one. We were watching
I remember Squid Game. People were really mad at the subtitles, but they were watching the subtitles of the English dub, which was optional.
Yeah. We were watching some kind of like Korean horror film, and it only had the option for the dub. There was no other option for subtitles. Because we had this problem with. We also had the same problem with the first episode of Squid Games. I was like, "Yo, I don't know Korean, but this seems fucked. Like these subtitles are super fucky." And then we looked and we're like, "Oh, there's 2 apparently." But there was what's it called? We were watching this one, and like at one point they just straight up add dialogue. Like no one's saying anything. I can't hear
Wow.
anything, but the text is just having more things happen. And I'm like, what is this? Who is talking right now? I don't know who's talking. Like it's just
off camera,
'cause
right?
it does.
They add.
Yeah, it's off camera. It's just showing a picture of clouds and someone saying something, but no one's actually saying anything. Like the text is going by and adding all these words, and no one's saying. And so I'm like, who's talking right now? Is it this character? This character? I don't know, because it's not. It doesn't put the person's name in front of it. I just, as assumably, as a deaf person who can't literally see anything on the screen, there's no indication of who the fuck's talking. Just have to assume who's talking here. I just have to like parse through the nuance of white subtitle text of who the fuck is talking. Like it's so bad. Subtitles are just not good. And this made sense during like I think this made a lot more sense during closed caption times in like the 1980s, when the best you could do is have really shitty like white words, like this like machine text going over your CRT TV. All right, I'll forgive that those may not be good. It's based on whatever, your broadcasting network had for the the script or whatever, and they put it into the computer. Okay, fine. It's shit because some guy didn't get paid enough to do it very well. But there's no reason why we've kept that the same forever. There's no reason why we've just decided to say like, you know what? Let's just keep doing that. It was really garbage back then, but I think it should be better now because people are just going to accept garbage now, I guess, or something. I don't know. It just like subtitles are shit. Subtitles are fucking garbage and they need to be changed. Like they need some kind of better formatting. They need to be more specific about people that are communicating and talking. I'll be honest with you. I wish that there are two options for subtitles. One is like I just want just talking only and full subtitles because I really really dislike audio subtitles. I hate when it's like bombastic music. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I'm stoked about your bombastic music, but shut the hell up. People are talking. I don't want to see bombastic music show up on the stupid subtitle thing while I'm trying to read someone's dialogue. It's just,
Breathing intensifies.
yeah, and so I can only imagine, again, so imagine if you're blind. My ears work perfectly fine. Too bad I don't have fucking Daredevil audio interpretation because I can't hear anything over the sound of fucking music drowning out all the
Bombastic
people.
music, you mean?
So I can't literally, I can barely make out who it is that's talking, but now I can't even hear who the fuck is talking. Great. Like, it's so
Wow.
good. So good. I love it. But it's fine.
But you're right,
right?
though.
It's just-
People hard of hearing people, like it's just not. Let alone actually deaf people. It's not. You say that in movies, in video games, it's even worse. I noticed a design decision in Elden Ring that I thought was completely avoidable. And now I'm not hard of hearing, and I actually don't know anybody personally in my life that is. So I might be out of my depth here when I say this, but the in Elden Ring, you need to collect these scarab little things that have, well, you don't need to, but there's these secret things that you often cannot see. You can hear them before you see them, and they have like this twinkling sound that is very high pitched. And I bet that people who have tinnitus or just are hard of hearing, they cannot hear that because it's so high pitched. That's the first thing you start to lose is the high frequency sounds. And it's like I can hear them easily because I have, even though I was an amateur musician, I always have been taking care of my ears or my hearing, and I'm fortunate to still be able to hear all the things. But like I bet it's just impossible for a lot of people, even like just normal no injury people. Like if you're older, I bet you can't hear the scarabs in Elden Ring, and there's no reason to do that. Just add
I mean,
a little
but
thrum
you
or something.
you could still do that, and you can also just have subtitles for that. So you could have a subtitle that says like "little dinging," and someone's like, "Oh no, that's a scarab." Like it's.
I mean, that's a detail that
I mean-
Overwatch does, for example, is that it has it's specifically known for its audio cues, but it also has subtitles for all of the audio cues.
Overwatch has great accessibility features. Like I do not like Overwatch, but I appreciate that every part of Overwatch is pretty accessible. You can change the colors like of the teams. You can change you can like get subtitles for like everything from dialogue to alts only to like sound effects. Like you can get so much accessibility in Overwatch. It's ridiculous. And then you go to a game, then you go to like any like Elden Ring and you're like, "Hey, what are your subtitle options like?" And it's like, yeah, we don't really support subtitles at this studio. And you're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Well, they do have subtitles, just not like sound subtitles.
They're not very, they're not very good. They're just basic dialogue subtitles, which is not even that great either because it doesn't really tell you who the fuck's talking. So you just
Yes.
hear someone say like, "What are you doing?" Who said that? Was it the dog on the ground that's dead? Was it the fucking god in sky? I don't know who said that just now. Could you put a name? Like it's the
And that's one of
like
the that's one of the
stupid.
cases where, as happens very often, accessibility is good for everyone because just adding a name behind the subtitle is such a good thing for Elden Ring because you just cannot tell. People assume you know the people you're talking to. They may say their name maybe once at the beginning, but I'm convinced a lot of the characters don't present themselves. And like
A
they
lot
have
of them
such
lie
enormous
about what
dialogues
their name
anyway.
is.
Or lie, yeah.
Just to
But
make things
then
more
it's like it
confusing.
doesn't matter. I hope my name was Mrof instead of Mreef. Good for you, mate. Ugh.
I would love if the subtitles like spoiled who their real name was. That'd be
That
fantastic.
happens sometimes. Some
Like,
games do that. I
that's
don't
great.
mind that. I don't mind
That's
spoilers.
amazing.
But also, it's funny if
That is-
it doesn't. Like you just have like weird definitions of the person that you're talking to. It's a mysterious old hag, and instead of like defining them as shadowy, croaked voiced figure. Those are two descriptions that could fit the very same person, but the how you describe the person is also telling.
But yeah, I think yeah, as you said, I'm very adamant that accessibility options be very like start becoming a lot more consistent and of good quality because it's not that I need them. I don't need them myself, but I often will use them because they make things convenient. Like it is convenient to be like I personally like to be able to change colors in games. Especially when it's like red versus blue. I don't like stuff like that. I prefer to set it to different colors. Um,
Mhm.
because a lot of levels tend to not facilitate those colors well. Like unless you're playing something ugly like Halo Infinite, where it's just so comically ugly that red and blue work because it doesn't have any other colors. Like it's just a fucking vomit mess. And you're like, oh yeah, this works. I will never run into a situation where I'm like, what is that? It's really blending in. But Overwatch has like too many colors. It is fucking peeing colors into your eyes, and you're like, oh shit. All right, well sometimes the red and blue don't fucking look very good. It just kind of all blends in together, and it's hard to see it. So I can change it to like a different color if I need to. Um,
Green
but
and yellow.
I don't know. Yeah, you can do green and yellow. You can do like purple and yellow is one I see a lot often. Um, it's just it's nice to be able to have that. I also would beg, please, like, just make a law, Congress, that you have to, when you release a video game and you have subtitles in your video game, that they are fucking on by default. Put subtitles
Yes.
on by default. I am so
Yes, I
done
don't
with this shit.
understand.
Where and
I
I
know.
hate it. I I only want this because, like, normally, so your first instinct hearing this viewer might be to like, why are you playing? Just go to settings and change it because some fucking games don't have settings options in the beginning. They just
And
start the
also,
fucking game and they don't have subtitles turned on, which means your
yeah,
stupid ass has to wait for a cutscene to finish, skip it if you want to, go to settings menu, turn on subtitles, quit the game, then start the game over again so you could have fucking
yes.
subtitles on the game. Why?
And also,
Why?
we're making let's plays. We are allowed to complain about things like this because for let's plays, it's annoying. It's how often do you see a streamer being like, "Oh, let's play this game," and people like 20 minutes in, "Oh, you forgot the subtitles." That's just common because all the games don't do that. They don't have subtitles on by default. And the thing is, it's not even just what you're referring to, Andrew. It's bothersome. Subtitles on by default is a good thing because more people will see subtitles, and that is a good thing.
I mean, it is good that people learn to read. It's a very critical
Yes.
skill. You should learn it early on. I hear as a child, it's really helpful to learn how to read subtitles
Especially
because
if you
in your
want to,
brain,
do school.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
the
that
read
really helps.
subtitles, you mean? Yeah,
Yeah, read subtitles because
not just read. Yeah,
when you learn how, no, not just reading. I mean, you should. I hopefully your school teaches you how to read before you're allowed to even buy video games with money. How did you get a job if
Mhm.
you didn't go to school? That's
yeah.
concerning.
But that's
The
what you said. Like it's helpful to help people how to read, and I was like, yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah. But it does help with if you learn
Reading
to
subtitles, yeah.
read subtitles early on, it does help you being able to like read them quickly and retain the information faster,
Mhm.
without having to do the thing that most people end up doing, which is why like reading a subtitle or like pausing the thing to read a lot of subtitles and then be like, okay, and then unpause. And
Mhm.
I couldn't.
I do that
I
with
could not
anime,
imagine.
but
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that. That
it's
sounds
there's just so much animation in anime. Unless it's like a really rubbish
yeah.
one. It's just like people are like it's a background, a drifting background, and people just talking, and then I don't need to pause. Do you know
Gotta
the
learn
scene I'm referring
gotta
to,
learn
right?
to
When
read.
they don't have animation budget, they just put like a seagull or something in the background, and they
Slowly
talk for
zoom
10
in on
minutes.
a painting or
Yeah,
out.
they do that so often, or
Also
the
known as
same
how
animation
video
frame.
essayists kill time in their videos.
Hmm. But yeah, and the thing is,
Exactly.
like it makes people obviously be capable of reading subtitles better, but also it like I imagine for American audiences or English speaking American audiences specifically, it allows them to enjoy foreign movies better because I'm familiar with that enough now, but I remember being surprised seeing people being like, "Oh, I don't watch French movies or anything because I can't read subtitles," and I'm just like, "Wait, that is a problem. You can't read subtitles at the age of 20 something. What?" But then, yeah, obviously thinking about it, it's very obvious. I grew up reading subtitles because that's movies are all in foreign languages, and the ones that are not are
Yeah.
usually the ones for kids. These days, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more dubs these days than there were when I was growing up. But like, it's it's just a fact of life that you're gonna read subtitles if you live in a country that doesn't speak English or French or Spanish or German. There we go. I think those are the ones that dub the most, or I suppose. Well, actually, I don't know how Asian countries do it. I imagine in India there's a lot of dubbing as well.
Depends on it's always country to country. Japan will
Hmm.
often dub stuff that it gets in. Like most stuff that goes to Japanese movie theaters is usually dubbed, but
Oh.
there are rare instances where they will put subtitles over something if it's like a movie that sometimes they'll do it for movies that they don't want that are better not dubbed. So like
Hmm.
some action movies and stuff like that could be better not dubbed. So they'll keep it that way. Um it's all like a really up to it's like it's arbitrary stuff. It's always
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
like I think this movie, it's like we do that here too. Not every movie has a dub that gets put on Netflix or whatever. So some movies
Hmm.
on Netflix are just only in whatever its natural language is, and then you're like, yeah, but why did Squid Game get a, a fucking dub? Then that's weird, right? And it's like, no, like, but that one needs the dub because it would be hard to understand the concept of Squid Game without English or something.
Translator notes. That's what we live it with. That's the thing that I started out with.
It's
Well, it's
And
just
in watching anime, you just see that so often, especially if it's fan subs. There's just so very often people, even with simple things like itadakimasu or like what's the other one that's no, yeah,
you'll
that
only see
itadakimasu
you'll only
is
see
pro.
yeah, you'll only see translator notes for subtitles in fan
In
translations.
fan.
They
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
show up
it's true.
in real translations
I
because
know.
again, they're not using subtitles; they're using like closed captions, basically.
Or rewriting the whole thing
Yeah, and
if need
anime
be.
is egregious with that on like any
Yeah.
streaming platform you watch anime on. It is bad subtitling. Like, just be ready for that. It's it's rough. Um, yeah, but it is what it is.
No, it's not what it is. We need to fight it. Don't buy it.
Uh,
Don't
I
subscribe.
I mean, I would love to. I personally am doing my part because I just don't watch live action stuff as much as possible because it always has bad subtitles. So, take that. My justification of not watching live action media is because you guys need to get your accessibility together. Um,
disgusting
Yeah.
3D people.
Yeah. What's wrong with you guys? You guys you don't know how to use subtitles? It's literally words, guys. You can't write words. How did you even make this
It's
stupid shit?
literally
You had to write words at some point. So do it again.
it's
Yeah.
li-
I'd be curious what the cost is to do proper subtitling. Like it's
I know a person who does subtitling for Netflix here in Portugal. Uh
oh yeah? Is it a
yeah.
decent paying job? Like are they
Yeah,
able
well,
to
it's not,
afford
you
eating
know,
food?
it's not, yeah, it's better paid than uh than service jobs often are. But it's not like
Okay. I mean,
she's
that's
not
good.
rich. She's not
That's
like, yeah, rolling in it.
well, no, I don't I'm not expecting the person to be buying like Lamborghinis, but I think as long as it sound to me they should be able to make a enough money to like support a family with is like if you're doing translation, that's a pretty even subtitling, that's a pretty like exhausting job where you're trying to like time words uh, over a long video or multiple
Mhm.
videos. Like that's a pretty tough job. Um,
And you need to pay attention as well because there's like if you do a subtitle for an episode, it's so much better if you do it for more episodes of the same series because you have context, you have style patterns and all that sort of stuff. So we tend to be rewarded for being consistent and paying attention to the show that you're doing.
Translators disagreeing about the names of characters. Ugh.
Oof.
uh,
Yeah, all of
voice
a sudden,
actors disagreeing the name of characters is also really unfun.
voice actors, yeah.
Yeah, voice actors that they're clearly not in the same booth or not like being talked to by the same director or something. And you're like, okay, finally, someone's gonna say this name, and they're like, oh, it's Ziggly All right, cool. That's how you pronounce it. And someone's like Ziggly Bob. What the fuck? Who's right now? One of you is lying. Why did you
It
do
happens so
this?
often in video games where it's just like, hey, I'm Mafferin. Hey, Mafferine, what's up?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that
Well,
Deathloop has a scene where somebody gets uppity about the pronunciation of something, and then but it comes seconds after somebody else not pronouncing it that way.
Oh, no.
that's pretty good.
And but that
That
kind of
that
sucks because in
is.
Japanese the pronunciation makes so much. It's so much more relevant how you pronounce things in Japanese than it is in English.
I mean,
So
it's not
that's
as bad as
that's
Chinese, where Chinese you're like you could be saying crimes if you're not getting the name right. Like you got to be really careful about the way that you say someone's name. But
I get the
yeah,
impression as well from the fact that so often Japanese surnames are single syllable. So I imagine there's got to be a lot of room for differentiation with simple sounds. I have trouble remembering Chinese names because of the single syllable. In my head, it's really difficult.
well, because Chinese is tonal, and that's like
Yeah, yeah.
not to be rude, it's one of the worst types of languages. Like it is really frustrating. I'm
No
not like
offense,
I'm not trying to
but
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that tonal languages are very,
They're
very
super
mean
difficult to learn. Yeah.
languages. Yeah, like it's so hard to try and like, did I say like if you say something wrong, it's not just like mispronouncing the where you're like you're like, it's not the you idiot, it's the. When you say like, I don't even know Chinese words. If you say a word in Chinese a different way, it has a completely different meaning. Like
Hmm.
you could just be
Japanese is like
just
that though as well, right? It has the it's the
no, it's
because
so
it's more
Japanese words are Japanese words. You can just sound like an idiot saying it.
yeah. If you
Like
don't say
that's
them right,
usually how
yeah,
it
yeah,
works.
yeah.
Yeah, it's and that's those languages are fine. English is like that. Most languages are like that. If you just mispronounce something, someone looks at you funny and goes like, "Wow, you clearly have never said that word before." But in Chinese, someone could be like, "Wow, that was really rude." And you're like, "I don't even know what I just said to you then." Because I was trying to say this word, but I can't even say this word
Just said
because
it
I
again.
clearly know how to pronounce this word. Like that's the thing. Like it's just I don't like that. And I also don't like that they're spelt the same. That really upsets me. I don't like that
Oh,
it's
there's
like
spelled
I
this. Oh
spell
my god!
yeah, it's just
Wow.
again, it's tonal. So because it's tonal, you have to say it a certain way. It's like why would you do that? I don't like you. I don't like you at all.
Isn't
Just don't do that.
Oh, I don't know, actually know the origins of the Chinese language, the sort of imperial
A lot of
Chinese.
war. A lot of war, and somebody was like, enough, let's just talk it out, and then made a language to talk it out about. And then
And
they
maybe
went to
that's the
war
reason why
again.
it's
God
difficult.
damn.
Yeah, I figured they would. Maybe that's the reason why it's
Yeah.
difficult. It's just like an imposed thing. It's like it's like Hindu, I think. Is it Hindu in India that is like the de facto or the de jure official language, but a lot of people just use.
Actually, I don't know.
I don't know if
I don't
it's
know what
Hindu or
language.
if there's another one. Because I know a lot of
India
Indian
apparently has
people.
23 official languages. That's too
Yeah,
many.
yeah, yeah.
That's
A
way
lot of
too
people
many.
just
You
speak
pick like
3 or 4 languages normally because they have.
yeah, like narrow it down to like 3 at max. I don't want 23.
But
That's
it's
too
just so many regions in India. Have you looked at the map? And not to mention the history behind
That's
those
not my
regions.
fault. The regions aren't even 23. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions. Fine. 7's fine. You can have 7 different languages. 23?
But then there's
Okay, maybe
different
include
people in
8
those regions
because clearly this is like you need to put English in there too. Obviously, you have to have
somewhere.
English because
Well,
yeah,
the
somewhere.
people
But
whose fault it was that this whole mess was in the first place is the language that you have to put in there.
exactly. You always have to include English. It's law, right?
The law,
Um,
well, it clearly is.
it's
Or
international
else.
law. Every language must speak English or else. You're not
Every
allowed to come
language
to
must
the
speak English.
yes. Yes, every language must speak English.
It's wild. I listened. I follow a Vietnamese guitar player on YouTube, and he just speaks exclusively in Vietnamese. Sometimes he includes subtitles, other times he doesn't. But like he just mixes English in the middle of so
Yep.
many of his sentences, and like I can half understand what he's going on about just by like full sentences sometimes. It's like, don't you know how to say that in English? And I see that
Yeah,
as well in some people here in Portugal. Like people just say, like usually it isn't the language like full sentences, but especially expressions like whatever or nonsense. Those are words that people
yeah.
will use to just denote things, even though they exist in Portuguese. They're just, you know,
I think that's just a habit of dual language speakers. Like
yeah.
if you speak 2 languages, you sometimes will just fluctuate between them depending on how fast your brain can call that word.
Oh yeah,
It just
yeah, yeah.
depends on like what is the you know like in you're trying to say a sentence and you're like, okay, I know all of the words, and one of them is just like English that one instead. Okay, continue on. The
I've been really bad at that recently. For some reason, like every time I try to speak things in Portuguese, I miss words. Like earlier today, I couldn't say orange in Portuguese. I said a similar sounding word to orange because in Portuguese it's laranja, but which like it has the same origins and all that. But because in English I remember it by the start, the or start. Like that's where my brain is. So I was just speaking in Portuguese, and all of a sudden I couldn't remember the word for orange. I was like, I just said something else. I don't remember what it was, but it sounded like orange in English. It's just like I don't know.
yeah,
How
just
to
say
this.
orange. You just gotta
Just
say
like,
again. Illegally,
but I wasn't.
everyone has to speak English, so just
But I
say
wasn't
orange.
speaking
People
English. Like
understand you.
I couldn't say the English word. I was just like my brain was
That's
toast
fine.
for a moment.
You're just slowly
And
losing your home language.
yeah,
All this Let's Playing. We're taking you
yeah,
over.
yeah. And not just and also my work. Like I was in France for a week and like speaking English and a little bit of French every once in a while, but just um, speaking English normally, no problem whatsoever. The moment I went to Britain and was surrounded by people speaking like English that I'm the accents are much more what I'm accustomed to, I was just slipping Portuguese words for like yes and of course and things like that because I was just sort of in the mode. Okay, I'm home. I can speak normally now, and just like every once in a while, I was just like, yeah, see, of course. Wait, just like say English or rather Portuguese sentences every once in a while. Anyway, I would catch myself. I think it happened to me as well the first time I went to New York for some reason. I think
Does England?
is English
They're
an English native
liars.
speaker?
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering if England says that they speak English, but they don't speak English. They're liars, and I don't
Wait, they
like
don't have
that.
an
I wish
official
they would
language?
change that.
Is it like the US? The
No,
US
well, they
doesn't
don't
have a.
speak English. English. They speak like UK English. It's a different English. When you go to like websites and stuff, they'll
Oh
have
yeah.
2 different versions of English, and one will be UK English. But they keep lying and saying that they speak English. No, they speak UK English. Come on, don't be rude.
No one's gonna
Like,
have any
can't
issues with
just
this part.
you just can't negate our English. It's the English everyone else speaks. US English. No one speaks UK English. It doesn't make sense.
I do wonder in what
doesn't-
way they even vary when the options do show up.
Well, in
Um,
spoken language, it's a lot to do with the expressions and with just the idioms.
It's probably mostly because UK uses pounds, so that's mostly why they probably have the secondary option for language, is because they'll change the money
Oh,
symbol
they could do.
from being USD money to being UK money.
And not just in the metrics as well. They use metric for a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true. Probably change the metrics too. I don't know. I don't want to touch UK English. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be anywhere near it. So a website offers me US English, immediately clicking it just as fast as possible. Get me
Oh,
outta
I'm
here.
sure they'll be miffed to hear that.
Exactly. I don't even know what you just said
How-
to me, but I
how
don't like it. I
dare
don't like
you.
anything you just said. It's just I don't want to know what a myth is. I don't want to know. It's awful.
You wanna-
Why would you say that?
Mate,
Gonna be
Mate, do you
right
know what
miffed.
mate, do you know what a deer with no eyes is?
I don't want to mate with nobody. Leave me alone. Stop. I don't like this.
The no
What is wrong with you?
idea. Get it? Because it's my British joke.
What? What
A
was
deer with-
British?
Because you can say it in American accents. You can say a deer with no eyes.
Oh, he said a deer.
Sorry. I didn't
Oh,
pronounce it properly. I'm
no.
not British. I can't say things. I mean, you could. It's a no
Oh.
idea. You could, but
So-
it's like,
So apparently one of the biggest differences is spelling. There's a lot of spelling
yeah, that's a
differences
lot of that.
between words in English.
There's a lot
or
of
like,
extra U's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
and
apparently,
REs.
well, and rightfully so. Americans have no interest in a lot of U's. We already got the one U that matters, the United in the United States. We don't need more U's than that.
there's no
So,
U in US.
Chill out.
Wait,
Yes, there's one U, exactly one U, and that's as many as we need.
Some switched S's and Z's.
and the REs at the end of like theaters and November. No, wait. I think I'm not sure how it is in November. But I know theater is
Yeah,
like
they-
théâtre. It's like from the French. It's French everywhere.
Yeah, they
He's a
changed
real-
the IZE to ISE.
The real universal language is French. Everybody speaks it. Actually,
These
that would be
words.
Latin.
What?
Probably the most influential of all. Because
The
the
dead one.
influential, yeah. And that's why that weird universal made up language Esperanto was so Latin-like in so many of his words. Do you guys know that?
Wait, how is at a replacement for on? What?
At Aunt?
So it says,
Wait.
so American English, you would say, I'm going to a party on the weekend. But in British English, you would say, I'm going to a party at the weekend. Like the band? You're just going to a party at the band? What is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing that?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that distinction.
Yeah, they invited me to their house.
The weekend isn't a thing. You can't like go to it. It's just a time of day. Like
The weekend is a
how do you-
bar, okay?
Probably.
They just say like, what are you doing at Christmas? What do you mean at Christmas?
Oh, yeah, at Christmas. That makes more sense, yeah. That makes more sense to me as well. Like, what do
No.
Americans say?
on
When Christmas?
on
Christmas.
It's
Oh.
the day. What day? Where you are currently on Christmas, or what are you doing on Christmas? You know, the day that you're going to be on, not the day you're going to be at. No one's at a day. You're not fucking hashtagging it on Twitter. Leave it alone. You're not adding anything. Just you're on a day.
But it's not. Christmas isn't a day. Christmas is a celebration. So when
Of a
you're
day,
at that celebration,
but someone was well, not that's not correct. It's
Don't you
just
say at a
celebration of a day.
celebration? Or do you say on a celebration? Those would be distinction between the day and the event. So I think it has more to do with what you consider Christmas to be. If
I-
it is a date,
I
then
would
it on makes sense. But if it is like
I
a
would
celebration, then you
say-
say at. It's like at your birthday, right? Do you say at your birthday? You're at your birthday.
No,
but that implies
you would say on your birthday.
yeah, but like if you say at your birthday, it implies there's a party going on, right?
That implies you're at a place.
Yeah.
When you say at, you're at a place. You're like at a you're specifically at some
yeah,
place.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's too much. Just don't do that. You can just fix that. You can fix that problem, and then
You
you're
don't
one
know-
step closer.
You don't know the half of it between languages that from different
Like,
countries that sound similar
What
but
is
are not.
this? The UK doesn't have particles for got. You just have get, got. Why would you do that? Just we have get, got, and gotten. Just gotten's fine. Gotten is a perfect word. You don't have to like get it confused. So now people say I've not got. Why? There's so many extra words. I don't want to do that.
You don't say got, you say got.
No, we.
I've
So
not got.
I haven't gotten any news.
Got.
Versus I've not got any news. Why? That's so much. There's so much words. Don't speak less. No one wants to hear you. Speak less. Say less. That is the entire best part about English.
Actually,
you can say things less.
What
That
are
was
you
one of
on
the things
about,
that-
mate?
That was one of the things that I when I started learning English in school, the verb to have was always presented to me as to have got. And you would always say, I have got a banana rather than I have a banana. But then I
Yes.
learned that pretty fast that Americans don't say that. And I was like, oh,
Mm-mm.
wait, the got is not needed. You don't. So I think it might have to do with the like formal version of the verb. Maybe.
I don't know. We didn't grow up with monarchy, so we didn't have to talk fancy. We just got to talk like regular people. And it sounds like what happens when you let rich like oligarchies live in your country is they get to have fancy ways to talk like at the party. I'm not adding a party. Gross. Get out of here.
You're at a party though.
No.
You're not on a party. Wait,
You're on a party.
really?
Always on a party.
You're on a party?
That doesn't sound right.
No.
No, if you're going someplace,
He's
you're going
insane.
if you're going someplace,
I think
you're
you got
going
confused.
on something.
Yeah, you go on
but if
a
you're-
date
if you
at
are-
a place.
If you are somewhere, you're at somewhere. But if it's so
Nobody says on a party. That's insane.
Yeah,
yeah.
but you say on Christmas. I was just saying
You
that
say-
at Christmas, you would like
Oh, yeah.
you would converge it to mean the celebration if it's at Christmas. Like it's not just on the date; it's at the celebration of Christmas. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm wrong, since I'm not a native speaker at either one of those languages.
Before we started this episode, I joked about the prolonged semantics discussion that happens every episode. And now we're
here
literally
it is.
arguing about grammar.
Yeah. Either way, whoever has the power, work really hard to convert England to speaking US English, and then we can all be happy together. We'll finally fix this dastardly problem of there being two Englishes when there should only be one.
I-
There can only be
Realistically
one.
Realistically
Alright, well-
speaking, I would think the US would speak British English faster than the other way around.
Absolutely not. We would never do that. That would be a sin against the founding fathers.
All right,
Who
well, this
spoke
has been
British
Dialogue
English?
Choices.
It
Hope
has
you-
been. The founding fathers spoke British English.
Hope you're right chuffed with the answer we gave your question. We'll see you guys next week.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.